And I believe we're live and ready to go, fellas. Hey there, everyone, and what's going on? Welcome to episode number 169 of the Xbox Roundtable Podcast, your favorite place on a Sunday night to pop a cold one and listen to some Xbox talk and more from around the game industry. I'm your host, Invader, and I think we're going to have a pretty fun show tonight. The Medium is finally out, and the panel will be giving our thoughts on that title. We'll also be talking about recent Microsoft quarterly report and how well the Xbox division is doing, and even more news to cover. However, first, let me introduce everybody on tonight's panel. We're still waiting on Gaming Addict from the Iron Lords podcast to be joining us this evening. But let me introduce everybody on the TXR crew panel, and I'll start with Centurion. Hey, buddy, what's happening?
Oh, not much, man. What is up, everybody? It is Sunday night. We are going to talk games, and I can officially say I rolled the credits on Godfall finally.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
It wasn't that bad of a game, honestly, but it definitely does lack. You know what the funny part is? It reminds me of Destiny when it first came out. Of here's this really cool thing, and we don't know what we're gonna do with it yet.
Right. Well,
I'm just saying, Destiny was really pretty to look at back in the day, but we saw there was a huge lack of content. I understand Godfall. It's really tragic that it's actually exclusive on such a scale that it's only on PS5. I really wish that it was at least backwards compatible or cross-platform. But definitely, I feel like that game is never going to be. You're never going to see it realized for its potential. I really feel there's actually some good gameplay mechanics there.
Let me ask you. Can I jump in and ask you a question? Is that game? Do you think the technical prowess of that game? Do you think they could have gotten it to run on Xbox One and PS4? Just besides what the developer said, because it's a next gen only title, do you think that if they put time and effort, they could have probably gotten it done and got it released on all platforms?
Probably more than likely. I mean, it's a beautiful game. I mean, there's particle effects everywhere. I understand it's a big, beautiful game, but it's very linear. It's extremely linear, right. Even though it's open world. Sometimes in the open world situations, they'll have barriers, or like the things that use to teleport yourself to around the world will be cut off. So you're actually kind of corridored into basically going through the world the way they want you to. So that's where I'm kind of not exactly sure how the game is next gen only, purely in the graphics and the loading. I will definitely say today, for the first time ever, though, a game console started doing something I've never seen done before on a PS5. And that was, I had to restart the console because the game actually started chugging. That's the first time I've ever had it do anything like that, where it would do it every time. Like when the character would go to start sprinting, the game would lag for a second and freeze. And then the character would start sprinting and the game would catch back up. And you could do this. I actually have it on Game Capture. You could do this consistently. And I've never seen a console do that before.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. The Godfall never really. I mean, I'm kind of mixed on it. It looked kind of cool, but at the same time, just the mechanics of it didn't really.
Cool, and it becomes very repetitive. Mm-hmm. It does become repetitive.
How quickly repetitive in a term of hours? Like, when did you start saying this is getting predictable? Because I remember playing Rise. It was like the third chapter after the big guys.
I would probably say about 10 hours in, you realize it's going to be predictable. But I like the fact that there was actually some decent enemy differences. And then also one thing I like that they didn't do over that Destiny doesn't do, which I really think is cool that Godfall did, is when you are given your bounty hunter mission to actually find a specific character in the world, they actually show that character to you before the game starts to actually, and I mean, some of the character detail and design is absolutely gorgeous. That's why I said it reminded me of Destiny. I even feel that they got a little bit more diverse than Destiny when it came to the character design, at least enemies.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Moving on further down the list here. Tim Buddy, how you been the past week?
They're doing good. It's been tough times of late. Just everything sucks, as we know. Just with the COVID, and we got a lot of time going. But I think overall, it's getting there. Had a pretty good week. Been playing Yakuza a lot and really finding a lot of love in that game. But overall, happy to be here. Hopefully, we have a good week. Yeah. It's, anybody who plays that game, you have to give it a shot. It's going to take a long time. We were talking to Megatron, and I told him that that I don't think a lot of reviewers finish this game because it's so long, and the story is so deep and so intertwangled and so good that it had an 83 Metacritic, but I mean. When I tell you this game is like painstakingly long, but it's in a good way. It's really long, and it's really hard. Like you get up to points where you have to grind for 5 hours, just on and on with fights and fights, just to get up so you can feel comfortable to go to the next level or that next boss. Because sometimes it is just when it's out of your favor, it's out of your favor. But that's part of the game that I love. So I've been just chugging hours on that. I'm totally obsessed. Played some NBA, but overall feeling good about Xbox. I think it's kind of boring at the moment because I just feel like Xbox is so good that it's just less to talk about. So I think they're well on their way, and we'll go into that in the topics. To just complete utter gaming, on top of each other. So we'll get to that, and we're gonna have a good show. Hopefully, Lord shows up. He's usually not the type to miss a show, so hopefully everything's okay there. Or he just fell asleep. Hopefully, he just fell asleep too tired. That sometimes I have done that before, but sometimes happens. But happy to be here, and let's go.
Totally, Tim. All right, moving on. Eric Shockley, buddy, how you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Just been trying to. Well, I've been trying to play the medium like last night, but it was hard crashing my Series X over and over and over again. Deleted it, re-downloaded it, did it again. I was just like, and it makes my console just make a loud beeping noise, and it just completely shuts off, and it does a hard reset. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to play that game maybe for a few months after a few patches, because I feel like this thing's going to kill my Xbox if I keep trying to chug through it. So I'm going to pass on that one for a bit. But overall, it seemed pretty cool. If you've played any of the past like Silent Hills, it feels like right at home at that. So hopefully I'll probably hear some of your guys' takes on that later. But and then now I've just moved on. I'm just playing Shin Megami Tensei Devil Digital Saga on the PS2. So just jumping into that since the medium didn't work out. So
right.
But yeah, not much.
All right. Yeah, we'll dive into the medium in a little bit further into the show. And finally, Megatron, buddy. Hey, it's been a little while. How you been?
Yeah, it's been a while. Kind of got hit hard with COVID a couple weeks back, and I'm still battling. And then I got other things going on behind the scenes, and it's been honestly a rough couple of weeks. So I'm kind of happy to kind of chill with you guys and talk some gaming for a little bit. So I want to get into the medium, hopefully after the show. But like I said, this has been real rough behind the scenes road on my end of things. But yeah, it's just the love and support that I got from everybody in the past couple of weeks has been outstanding. So that definitely helped a lot. So, but yeah, here TXR, let's go. It's Sunday.
Yeah, buddy. All right. And as a
Yeah.
reminder, guys, if you like listening to the show on the go, be sure to check us out on a wide variety of audio podcasting platforms. We realize that not everyone has the ability to listen live on YouTube. So, hey, if you're more than welcome to listen to us on various podcasts such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Definitely check us out there. Now, guys, we will move and roll into our first topic of the evening. And this week, Microsoft unveiled its second quarterly earnings. And the report, it states that, the reporting states that there was a 51% surge in gaming revenues for Microsoft. Absolutely huge. With the launch of new consoles, hardware revenue jumped 86% year over year. That is absolutely massive, let me tell you. Microsoft had about $43.1 billion in revenue. Oh man, talk about a huge pile of earnings there. I really don't want to overwhelm our listeners with all different kinds of statistical jargon, but it seems like the Xbox division is doing quite well. Guys, I'll keep this open to the panel, whoever wants to chime in on this first, but what are your thoughts on Xbox's or Microsoft's latest earnings report for this quarter? What do you guys think of Xbox taking in, well, just this huge surge in just, it seems like there's been a huge spike in the Xbox division over the past few months.
Who wants to take it? I'll go second. We can go first, or I can go first.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Tim, if you'd like to take charge here,
I guess I'll go first. Yeah.
Go right ahead.
I think really what it says is that Satya and CFO, the CFO, I keep forgetting her name. I draw a blank on her name. They're very, regardless, they're very good. They're very high on Xbox right now. So what that means to me is that means more money is going to be spent. Amy Hood, thank you. That means more money is going to be spent and more games are going to come, and we're going to be happier as Xbox fans. I think that it's smooth sailing right now. If you just look logistically down the line and how you can line up things and possible. I've heard is they're looking for publishers more than, let's say, a studio. So they're looking at a people who make games on a whole. Well, like whether it be, a Gears box I heard, or Gears box I think that they were mentioned. Just think of the publishers. So I think if you're looking at Xbox and looking for acquisitions, that's where you look right now. That's what I'm hearing, but we'll see. Otherwise, they had a tremendous quarter, $5 billion. So that's the most they've ever made in a quarter, $5 billion. And, that's approaching big numbers now. And you think that they have such demand and they have so many games in the woodworks that they're just going to blow away 2021 financially. So what's that going to mean? That means next year you're going to get your same business report, and the CFO and Satya are going to make another statement. But by that time, you just imagine those numbers. By that time, you might have more publishers on, and it's just going to grow and grow. 2021, from what I heard, is their biggest year. They're looking to just like everything to fall into place now, and the ball get rolling. And the times when you get your games, they're behind you, and there's no more waiting. People want to destroy Xbox for waiting now. Say 538 days without a AAA. Yes, that's all truth. But you have to have some foresight. And I think that some fans that were Xbox fans that switched over lost that. And, you're just going to keep denying it and pretend that they have games and say, oh, it's been 882 games, 632 games days before a game with AAA, and then Halo hits. And then Wolfenstein 3 hits. And then Starfield hits. and then let's go on and on, because 22 they're going to be big. They're going to have a lot of games coming. Hellblade 2. So, and then it's 5 of those games in the last, say, 7 months or 8 months. And then what's the narrative then? What is your narrative then, Xbox hater? So,
they're counting. Are they counting by chance Godfall and Miles Morales as part of their AAA count here?
I don't think you can't put Godfall in there.
That's why I'm
No
just
way.
trying to say, because if we go off of the idea behind AAA and AA, AAA and AA just means budget, right?
Mhm.
In the end. And that's where I'm just trying to point out that, I picked up a game on sale just yesterday called Daymare.
Mhm.
This game was voted by Gaming Bolt or whatever as the worst game of 2019. I had to figure out why anybody would ever come out and say this. And you know why? Because it's not a graphical showpiece. It was merely meant to basically simulate that feeling you got when you played Resident Evil 2 back in the day. It's supposed to be a 90s cliche kind of game with 90s graphics. And to me, I was like, wow, the game is actually, I'm enjoying it because I'm not one here to count A's. That's why I always have to laugh when I hear people AAA. It's like, I've seen some, like, look at Cyberpunk, the AAA game that never could. So it's like, come on, let's stop with the AAA narrative. There is plenty of content and software available on Xbox from many developers. Xbox is just a software developer, hardware developer that likes to uplift the studios around them rather than some of the competitors only using a studio when necessary, when they have nothing to spotlight themselves.
Mm-hmm. They want teamwork. They want people sharing engines. They want people sharing characters in games. I like Xbox's idea. They go far, far and away with some awesome games. So it's just good news. Like I said, when I say Xbox is boring, is a lot of times when I've been vocal, it's because just people just being assholes about Xbox, or bashing people and just being dicks. So when usually that happens, I'm more vocal and I'm kind of a dick back. But now it's like, what are you going to argue about? They're both awesome. They're both, nobody can get them. They're both going to set records in the holiday. If I had one place to choose to stand with, to be with, it's Xbox, because you just see everything coming to it, everything coming to where they want to be. You see that all. It's only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless they have horrendous and bad luck and Starfield sucks and this, but I doubt that. I think you're going to have games that are going to wow you. And look, the Xbox is getting the show. I mean, that just happens because they got lucky, but that's huge for just Microsoft in general. Because I can get, like, there was a time when I was in football coaching and I was playing football. I wouldn't say I gamed as much, but I still had a passion for it. I still had all the systems, but I definitely didn't play like I play now, or when I played when I was young, when I would stay up all night and play. But there was a time when I wasn't playing, and the only reason why I got a PS3, a PS4, is because of the show. I am a huge baseball fan. Like, I am a big Mets fan. I was upset with them with Wilpon. I lost a little, passion with them, but now I'm full on board. I'm very happy. But I love baseball. It's just, to have a baseball game is like me playing NBA last night, and just amazed at how 2K looks. The next gen edition. But it's a huge get for Xbox, and things like that are just accumulative, making them better and better. So.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an Xbox hater and you're listening to this podcast, which you're probably not because we just got good fans, I'd rethink your position, or just like games, because in the end, if you want to game more, you're going to have Game Pass. You're going to have everything that you want on Xbox. And, it's just time to stop hating. They're not going to fail, like you said. They're not going to blow up. They are hugely on the way to being hugely profitable and hugely powerful. So that's just the way it's going to go.
Yeah. Now to pick up.
What I don't get.
Oh, go ahead, Shockley.
What I don't get, because like I'll see people like say like crap or what have you, be like, oh, it's been 500 and so many days. It's like, well, yeah, we understand that was the whole problem. That's why they, went out there and got, Bethesda got more studios, Ninja Theory and all those. So I'm like, they've addressed it. So they've addressed the concerns. So it's coming. There's about to be an abundance. At no point is there going to be like a dry spell anymore once that starts hitting, starting with Halo Infinite.
Exactly.
Hopefully we have some of, because Bethesda likes to, again, we've said it many times, announce stuff like in the same year. Bethesda's going to have some games that they were going to roll out for 2021 that they haven't announced yet. We don't even know their window, but they're going to release some games outside of Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. So it's like, it's not like they're not addressing the problem. They did. But unfortunately, if you want God of War quality, even God of War, it took years. It took them probably 5 or 6 years like to get that quality. So same thing with Sony. They have a re-release or a remake, which is great, with Demon Souls. And then they had equivalent to, hey, we already have Spider-Man, and let's just make, take basically the same cities, much to it, just make a new storyline with Miles Morales. So it's like they don't have much either. And God of War is coming out, Ragnarok, this year, but all we got was a JPEG. So I doubt it. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, they've been working on what would have been 4 years, probably already on an existing engine. So that doesn't take as many years to create when they probably have a similar design.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think his point. I think he just cut out. But
okay, sorry.
Yeah, you came back.
Yeah,
you came back.
Get my point. Like even Sony, even the great like Sony first party studios, it takes them years to make like a new IP. And then even so, the first party games they have out are ones that are already using an established engine, like Miles Morales, and we don't even know what their next big game is for a lot of their other studios. So it's like,
I mean, they're going to be good, but just to say
have to worry about it. Like a year and a half, Microsoft's going to be good for forever.
I know, unless something really bad happens. But yeah, that was basically my point too. Shout out to Mega. He had to go. He's been sick with the COVID, so we told him if you feel sick, just leave. He's an awesome guy there. Just send your love towards him. He's a good guy. He's doing well, so you heard him. But yeah, to the point of what you were saying, that's exactly it was the same thing I was saying, and it's like just have a little foresight, like for these people that like are whether it be crap or I think crap does it a shtick at this point, and I'll probably say that he does if he offends somebody or something, but you gotta have foresight. It's like I used to tell Jeremy's like, oh, it's over, man. Xbox sucks. I'm gonna DM Phil go fuck himself. Excuse my language, but you heard all the stupidity like that. And I was like, just look. And that was with 15 studios or 14 studios and then 15 and now 23. Like Jeremy came to terms. Like he was like, yeah, okay. With Bethesda, he's like, yeah, okay. It's no more talk, no more crying. But you just gotta look down and look at all the games that are coming. Bethesda is just a mind-blowing acquisition. And I see people pushing for acquisitions. I necessarily don't want them to just spread themselves thin and keep the talent, drawn out. I'd rather them to still grow organically with all 23 studios that they have and have a strength core of that. One thing about Sony, they have 13, and then they have some that aren't making it, but their studios are packed with unbelievable talent. You can't spread your talent too thin. So people say 30 studios compared to 23. You just got to think. But I think Xbox has been doing this. The guy Booty is fantastic at what he does. He did the same thing with Minecraft, and I really feel like he's just and they got, the thing is that with Microsoft, if you go back 5 years ago, it was always about them believing in Xbox as part of Microsoft, of part of its lineage, of part of it. Before then, it was always an afterthought, or like a fun thing to look at for Bill Gates, and even like Satya. Satya doesn't know anything about video games. He doesn't know anything. And I've talked to the man. The guy does not know anything, but he does know. He does know, and I talked to him because they asked me certain questions about Gears going, multiplat. But the fact is that he's a brilliant man, but he doesn't video game. He's probably reading a book all his life, and he just never got into video games. But he understands numbers, and he understands the trend, and he. I think it's something that he sees, and he sees the passion, and he just realizes that that's going to go a certain way. He realizes now that I think video games are going to be the top medium, not even, it's going to overtake Hollywood. I think that we used to always say it's going to blow away Hollywood.
Yeah.
There's going to, when you're playing a game like Yakuza and it's rivaling the story on Godfather, and in many ways, in different ways, and it's 10 times longer, guess what? We're going to come to a point where developers make games better than we make movies. And there'll probably be competition, but I just think video games has a chance for the most part to take over, be the top medium. And I think that Satya and, the CFO, they all believe now in Xbox. And what that means is that they're looking for Xbox to spend money. Where Xbox spend money, they got a golden ticket. So now they just got to make smart stuff, smart decisions, acquire more, just keep building building their existing studio base. But it's a great thing for Microsoft right now. I mean, we went into the subject for 40 minutes, but when people make deal out of numbers, if we had a bad thing, we'd be talking about that. But this was like, I think everyone with the numbers realized it was like, I don't know how, Invader, what's your opinion on the whole thing? You haven't talked about it.
Yeah, well, honestly, I just think that it's really encouraging how healthy the Xbox division is and how much they're contributing to to Microsoft overall. Now, you look at some of the statistics here that I'm pulling. For example, the Xbox Series X and S, those consoles, those devices are the most moved devices in an Xbox launch month period. So that shows the excitement of the brand and people just wanting these consoles. You look at, like, content seems to be such a big driving force for Xbox as well. Xbox software and services grew by something like 40% year over year. And you can pretty well damn be sure that that's the high number is because of Xbox Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass is still spiking up. Satya had put out, I think it was Satya, he had put out a statistics of that Xbox Game Pass now has 18 million subscribers. That's insane right now. And it's still, like, I want to say that, it's been a couple of years now for Xbox Game Pass since it's been live, but it's still in its infancy, and it has grown astronomically. Not only that, you think about the amount of games that have come in and out of it. And then you look at Xbox Live. The Xbox Live numbers are monumental. They have, I think they hit 100 million monthly active users. That may even be a new record if I'm not mistaken. And either way, like, you look at the revenue, $5 billion, the highest ever for a quarter. Guys, things are looking really good for the Xbox division. I mean, there's companies all over the game industry that would love to be hitting these numbers and seeing these high spikes. So you can damn well be sure that Xbox, things are looking pretty darn good, guys.
May I go on?
Go right ahead, brother.
All right, because I know like you said, 40 minutes. I like what Tim Dog said about gaming surpassing the movie industry, and I really do think that is going to happen. I really do think the pandemic played a big role in that. Because we see how regrettably we saw how fragile the entertainment industry is. The minute you shut down the ability to have any kind of a live audience, whether it's in your studio, in the theaters, you've pretty much shot yourself in the foot. That's why we're seeing multiple movie studios trying to figure out where to put their movies in the first place right now. Do we put them in a subscription service? Do we wait until theaters reopen? I really do see gaming actually surpassing the movie industry purely because the gaming reaches out to people's homes. They're able to reach people one-on-one. They don't have to deal with some of the constraints that the movie industry has right now. And definitely we're seeing some of the same technology that's used in movies today, like the stop capture animation, motion capture animation, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
There is techniques used today in gaming that are also used in movies.
Yes.
We're seeing Hollywood actors already transition into gaming. Christopher Judge, the kid that originally played Iceman, numerous actors. And so we already see the direction it's going. Sony, I've already said Sony is more of an entertainment company than they are a gaming company. They have Sony Pictures. They're in movies, and their games are more tailored towards that first person cinematic experience, or excuse me, single cinematic experience. That's why those games just have so much polish to them. And I can't agree with you more, Tim Dog. The other half I want to point out, though, is with everybody that's going around with this whole concept of Microsoft has no games and stuff like that. For starters, where are you going to be when all these games do come out? No offense. Look at individuals like Jason Schreier, Paul Tassi, other people from other media outlets that have completely alienated themselves from the fan base that they actually preach to because of a stance that they just kept beating a dead horse about. And so I'm going to hold you in the same regards. You have pretty like at this point or do you expect to come back when there is games and be like, oh, it's all great now because I told them there was no games the whole time? And you're, I'm sorry. At least me, I'm gonna look at you, and be like, why are you here? You drew your line in the sand back there. You go have fun with it.
I know. So, so true.
And
what do you think they'll be talking about? Like those people? It's just not one person.
If anything,
what
we're going to be counting blades of grass. We're going to be counting pixels. We're gonna be over here saying my frame rate's better than yours. I mean, I can only imagine how idiocracy it's going to get. And that's
where
or
they just give people credit. I mean, I said something. They just guys come to me and say, even if Xbox games go. Which I don't think that they're going to go to Bethesda, but even if some do, it is a win for gamers in a way. But the fact that you get a day one on Game Pass can't be trivialized.
Oh no,
you know what I mean? Like that you're getting freaking these games, and when they start hitting, and like you just know the Fallout 5 is going to be on your hard drive.
Well, it's the best value in gaming.
Yeah.
Oh, and the one thing I want to preach to people is while you're over here counting frame rates, blades of grass, trying to prove whose console's better than yours or whatever else, that's where Invader will probably agree with me on this, and Tim Dog will know. There is other entities currently right now wanting to creep up on gaming. We see the numbers Microsoft is doing. We see the numbers PlayStation is doing.
Yes.
Gaming as a whole is exploding right now. And we've already said that that movies are going to take, second place to gaming. We already see Disney already kind of pushing EA to not have exclusivity. Disney wants to have more games out there when it comes to the Star Wars franchise. We know that Disney has consolidated all of the gaming studios that they had pretty much under their umbrella, and all of a sudden now Lucas Electronic Arts, or whatever it's called now, is back and looking to make more games because Disney sees that they can make a lot of revenue in gaming. I'm curious on how far they're willing to go and how many franchises they're going to let out into the wild. But that's where also the video I just did, Tencent, a lot of people don't realize that Tencent is also in the movie industry. As a matter of fact, I actually think they had their hands in the last Transformers movie. Because I remember, because it's kind of, when I know their logo, it's like a little tent that pops up when you see it. And that's one thing that concerns me, because I don't want Microsoft or these other companies to get stretched thin when it comes to acquisitions of studios or publishers. But at the same time, I don't want these studios or publishers to get in the hands of the wrong individuals, because as we see, Microsoft treats it as art, Sony treats it as entertainment. I don't want a company like Tencent coming in and treating it like dollar signs. And that's where my concerning part is, at least in the articles that I read, when you hear that Tencent could possibly have a hostile takeover of either Take-Two or EA, means that somebody along the lines have sold their soul to the devil, and Tencent owns a considerable share of their stock options, to the point where Tencent could technically walk in and say, hey, it's ours now. And that's where, if that situation was to occur, I just hope one of these companies would turn to a company like Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo, basically the guys that have been around doing it for a long time, and pretty much help, basically, hey, we would rather sell to you than letting one of these other companies like run amok with what we've created.
Well, the truth is, everybody sees the growth in gaming over the past year, and they see the kinds of money that it's raking in right now. And yeah, you're correct about Tencent. I mean, they've had their hands in, like, they've been really growing.
They're scary.
They are.
Scary.
They're actually,
you know why they're scary? Because they're from China, and China will not do, like, they could, meaning that they could just do what they want from gaming. It doesn't, like, we have a community, like, even Cyberpunk, but in Tencent's thing, they're a Chinese based company, in my opinion.
It gets worse than that, Tim Dog. I did some digging onto them on Wiki. In certain parts of the world, Tencent is responsible for issuing credit scores.
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, like, imagine that they're actually in the Asian market, in certain parts of the region over there. They actually have a company that they own that issues credit scores.
Yeah. For me, it's dangerous, because if they get, like, behind a publisher and they buy, like, EA, and then, they're just releasing, like, really bad games with no effort. Like, just take EA, say they bought EA and they were, doing Madden, and it was basically even worse than it is now. Like, and nobody cares, but that's all we have, because they have certain, EA's the only one making video games, really, like baseball games and stuff like that. Not baseball, football. If they're behind something like that, I think that the quality of gaming, I don't know, they could be actually good, but I get a little nervous with them. I have to be honest. I'd rather,
if Tencent was going to target
Ubisoft, be Ubisoft, be Ubisoft. You know what I mean?
If Tencent was going to target either one, I think they would be more apt towards Take-Two, purely because of Grand Theft Auto Online.
Yeah, that's more horrible, though.
And that's,
like, imagine they screwed up GTA. Just imagine that.
Because I want that their games as a service kind of company, and GTA Online is more their style.
It's bad enough,
guys. They just said that they never made it. They just say, we're just going to make GTA next gen capable.
It's bad enough.
And charged. Go on.
Oh no, sorry. I'm just saying it's bad enough that there was an article put out the other day that they got a minority stake in Don't Nod. Obviously, they're the Life is Strange devs, and they have their hands in like a whole bunch of other devs that people don't know about. They in tens of devs. I think they have a stake in Fat Shark.
They own Riot Games, Activision, Ubisoft.
When I say
Epic.
But, like, when I say China, I don't want to sound like some kind of bigot or anything, but I'm just saying China, their laws are different than ours, and they don't have a real connection with gamers, I'd say, as a whole. They're just kind of, like, secluded in a way where, like, they could do something like put out shit games and not listen to any of the feedback
And
just
to
make
add on to that, Tim Dog, just to show
and
you
own
that
everything
even
too.
said they have no laws over there. Well, they have laws, but it's more along the lines of copyright laws and infringement.
Right.
Some of the worst ripoffs you will ever see of games come from that area.
Yeah.
Basically, like literally, they will take a game and cut, copy, and paste it into a different architecture, and you're like, this is didn't that happen with Rainbow Six Siege? There was a game that came out of China that was completely a complete cut, copy, and paste version of Rainbow Six Siege.
Wow.
Not
Yeah,
100% sure, but I mean, the whole thing is the Chinese Communist Party, because they have, they always have a say in what the Chinese companies do or say or whatnot. So that's the really big concern right there. You don't want them messing in on like North American, European, or just worldly companies, because if they get their
just like TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah, the whole TikTok situation as well. You don't want them like infecting them with the Communist Party tendrils and so on, because you don't know how far it goes.
Right. Well, they honestly, by just democratic nation versus communist nation, they don't think the same way. They have different ideas on everything. And to be honest, when you say China, the reason why the United States didn't want TikTok owned by that much was because they didn't want China to have all the information on American people. Just as a whole, it's like oil and water. It doesn't mix. It's just the way it's been, at least the way I've always seen it. It doesn't mean that, just politically and just with laws, like everyone's saying, and just the out of touchness too. It's like when it comes to blaming something, like if you have to say your game was just it was a total hack and slash, and they made GTA just like all money, like a cell phone game, but they own so much of video gaming that oh my god, they own so much of the gaming industry, and now they're starting to water down the industry, and that's a scary thing. It's like the quality of video games just have to go up. It's like what we were talking about just last segment. As when that goes up, when the video games is better than Hollywood, like when it becomes to that point, you got to believe that, that's just video gaming as a whole just kept growing and kept getting better and better. Something like Tencent scares me not scares me, but just I could see things getting watered down. Whereas if you with Microsoft, what they're doing with their games and the way they're going about it, organically grow, I have confidence that Xbox Studios and Sony too, I have to say them too, they're organically growing. Their games are going to be unbelievable in the future. It's going to be the top of the line. But the Ubisofts of the world, they've always been there, but they've kind of taken different strategies. And if they took an even worse strategy, they can get even less. So, I'd rather, I was always told, but it looks like Google, Amazon, Tencent, and Microsoft, they're all going to be vying for more and more studios. So it just keeps growing. That's just
that worries me.
Yeah, that's
all everybody's going to be buying up these studios, and I'm looking at it from the perspective, I don't want to see something that I grew up doing and enjoying all of a sudden just turn into this huge money grab for a bunch of people that don't understand it. Because if you want to see a huge victim of not understanding gaming, go read that article by Jason Schreier on Amazon on why they can't create a successful game.
Right. Yeah, well, again, it's great to see, that Xbox and Microsoft as a whole is doing well, especially obviously the Xbox division. And yeah, there's all kinds of companies, developers, publishers, more so that, because of the way the market is right now in gaming and how successful it's been, a lot of them are going to be, buying. A lot of them are going to be really interested in getting into the gaming market even more so. And with this, guys, we'll transition to another bit of news since we just addressed, Microsoft and the momentum they have. They could possibly, since they got all this money, they could have room to spare for another Bethesda-sized acquisition. And, we always talk often these days about Xbox and various acquisition rumors floating around. And there's one gaining a lot of traction right now, and it's that Xbox is, again, they're going to be making another Bethesda or ZeniMax level purchase quite soon. Now, guys, take this with a grain of salt, but there's a credible insider named Xbox Ragnar, and recently he backed a rumor stating that Xbox has another Bethesda-sized acquisition in the works, going on to state that it'll be announced at sometime at the end of this year or maybe the beginning of next year. Obviously, these things, when you're talking about big publishers, sometimes it takes a while. The Bethesda one apparently took a couple of years to really nail out. Guys, this has reignited even more speculation of what studio or publisher could be next. Now, Tim, I'll stick with you, buddy, on this one, but of course everybody can chime in here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? Could we be seeing another big publisher purchased for Xbox?
Yeah. I kind of talked about this earlier on just because we went off on tangents, but which was my fault. But I can see them doing I can see them buying publishers now, and I don't think they're going to be going into the studios. And I'm hoping that the publishers that they buy, that they organically grow them. The names I'm hearing, they're not going to knock your socks off, in my opinion, but they have the purpose. And so I think that they're just looking. They have to get games for kids. PC side, I think that they want to address a little bit more. There's some PC developers that they want to kind of get. They want to help. They want it for a PC game. Gamers to feel good too. So, like, think of a PC publisher that has some games to console, but their PC is their main choice. I could see that happening. I've heard that they're happy with Game Pass. That they're always looking, of course, to the point where people are throwing themselves at them. So they have to be more cautious, and they have to really think things through. But I think what you're going to get is you're going to get like a something that's going to come with a lot of, you probably made fun of, but a strategic move like that. So you look at those type of studios, and then I do think that there's going to be two. So they're going to have that one that's not going to come with a lot of fanfare. Probably gamers like us will have a topic like But I heard one of the things that with the game studios, that any game that comes out that's made by the first party studio, it has to come on Xbox. So no matter what, like Flight Sim or these others, it has to come on Xbox. So just keep that as keep that as in the back of your head if you hear that who they buy, like if it's that type of publisher that I described, then I can see them going after who was the guy that I heard that I can't say. I'm not going to say. One that would have some other big IP attached to it. That's a publisher. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be two publishers.
Oh wow!
So that's what I think that's my analysis. And believe me, when people come to me with this, I know somebody who got somebody, or whether it's I got a tip, I just don't. I roll my eyes at that stuff. I talk to a lot of people, and the best I've gotten is that type of thinking. So I could see a PC publisher, and then I could see a publisher with an IP attached to them, and then those two will really fill out. And I do also think those two nothing's going to compare to Bethesda. Just get that out of your mind. When they say Bethesda, no, I don't think you're going to get that type of talent. You're going to get something with a big IP attached to it, that develops a lot of different games. And you're going to get, I think, one that's going to target the PC first. So whether they have a bunch of lineage of games that are on PC, and they will also look to make games on console. But their first and foremost focus is they want to kind of address PC Game Pass, because the numbers can be more than they are.
Yeah. Now, there's been some interesting stuff going on the past couple of days regarding a certain publisher. Sega, they've been doing some restructuring, and they split their business into their gaming sections like kind of in half. One into their pachinko section, and then the other just into a separate gaming section overall. Could they be a very tempting buy for Microsoft?
I think you could see something like a collaboration type deal, or like a section of the publisher there. But I don't. Sega's not one of the ones I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard two specifically,
Okay.
and both are publishers, and both are what I've described. I'm not going to give the names because when I give a name, then it's all over the internet. Not that it isn't, but I know when people like this is how I would say somebody would come to me and say, "Did you hear this?" I'm not going to give you the name. Or give me a hint, and I would say the one that I had heard. And this person kind of has been right with stuff. I go, well, the one that I heard starts with the letter. And then I gave him the letter, and then it turned out that my information from another source matched his information. Now, whether that's the same source that originated, that could have happened, but you got now kind of two things saying the same thing. And additionally, another thing that he didn't tell me, but I could read through the lines, that's kind of like, where it could be at. But then again, it could all just not happen or something. Like I said, Xbox has to be cautious too. You don't want to make bad studio. You don't want to buy a studio that's not good, or that you're not happy with, and that because it's ugly if you try to leave them, like what happened with Xbox earlier on with who was the studio that unfortunately they let go.
Well, there's a couple. I mean, look at Bungie, for example.
Not well, Bungie kind of left, or they had an argument and they didn't come to terms.
Twisted Pixel.
No, much bigger than Twisted. It was their main studio for Fable. I forgot the name of.
Lionhead.
Lionhead. Yeah, Lionhead was.
I think a lot of those left after Peter Molyneux left. A lot of the big dudes left. So there wasn't much. A lot of the talent was left. So. Kind of like with Rare.
And they didn't think of organically growing back then. Like if one of the Xbox guys was like, well, let's hire studios, they'd like get devs, they would laugh at you because one of the things that was it's a good thing when I heard is that when you work for Microsoft, you get paid in some sort of stocks. Every employee, and you're considered an employee. So they would look at that and they would say, oh, no way. Now that obviously that line of change is thinking. I think they still do that, but I'm not 100% sure. But the fact of the matter is that now they'll hire devs and hire people and grow. When their Lionhead probably lost all those guys, they probably just had to eat it, which explains why Fable Legends was a disaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Fable Legends was a very special case altogether. I mean, I actually, believe it or not, still have that downloaded on my Xbox. The beta, that was, I thought it was okay. Actually, it looked great, to be honest, but...
you want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
Before quickly on that? And this is a true story. I played Fable Legends with Phil, and... when I tell you that I was really I was being like, wow, this is amazing. I love this game. Phil was not the same. He was playing the game and I could tell he just didn't feel it. Like he felt underwhelmed by it. He's like, oh, we'll get there. And then some animations need work and this and that. But a fun fact is I did play Fable Legends with Xbox and I was like overly joyed and overly excited. Probably because too, I want to say the game did, one thing, it did look amazing. But there wasn't much behind it, and I think that they kind of knew, and that was the beginning of the end of that developer, which is sad with the whole thing that happened. But the game, like you said, it had definitely had problems. It would have released to like a 68 Metacritic. It wouldn't have been that good.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, it's really a seller's market right now. All kinds of studios. Again, just because of the huge influx in gaming over the past year, because of the whole worldwide situation, I mean, studios can get a pretty darn big bang for their buck right now. And really, again, like if you wanted to make some money on your studio, now's the time because publishers, they want the content. and they want to make their own subscription services, or ones that already have their own subscription service to add value, add more content. Again, you look at Google, you look at EA. Unfortunately, Tencent, again, they're the rumor circulating right now of them curating billions of dollars to want to buy a big publisher, so that's kind of scary. Like, there's a whole bunch of publishers that I could see Microsoft being into. Again, in the summertime, there's the talk about WB Games and Microsoft having chats about different acquisitions about their studios. Ubisoft was another one. I don't know, you guys remember a few years ago the whole Vivendi situation and Ubisoft with the whole hostile takeover thing, that it didn't happen, but that was kind of an interesting thing there. You also got to look at Techland as well, the Polish developer and publisher. Dying Light 2, there hasn't been really a lot of talk on that. There's all kinds of names out there. So I got to admit, I'm curious. I'm very curious to see Xbox, who they're talking to, or if they'll get some kind of a Japanese publisher.
Can I add to that, just to one thing that you just said?
Yeah, of course.
One thing I did hear too is that anything with offshore money, whether that would be the Polish Techland and Japan, anything with offshore money, Xbox is Microsoft as a whole is like exempt from taxes. So, or they have a tax credit, something. The same thing if you look at what happened with Minecraft. They don't have to pay the same amount of taxes as to say if they bought a Bethesda. So they could up the bid. So just consider that too. With studios like CD Projekt Red, Techland, they are also looked at as well. I would think CD Projekt right now is probably lower than it should be. I think they're better developers than what has happened. They just had a mess. That's another story. But I would look into them. And like I said on Twitter, though, I want to see the 23 studios they have, whether you even take it with Tango Wire or Tango Games, grow them. Add 35 guys to each studio. Keep organically growing, because with 23 studios, if they're all pumping out games, 35 teams, and they got enough people and they're making quality, you're talking about, I think it comes to a game a month or a game every other month. And that's when that's our golden age of game. You're getting all the stuff coming in and through Game Pass too. So they're really they're working from a position of strong right now, and I think Phil knows that. And I don't think that they're just going to just throw money away at something just cause. I think that they did that with Bethesda. Like, people say it's been going on for 3 years. That's not the story. The story is it started in 2017. And then they offered, and Xbox was way too low, or the numbers were way too, they just couldn't come to it. And then in 2020, something happened. And within 4 months of that, after that happened, the deal was struck. So, people, I was reading somebody from this highly acclaimed guy or whatever, and he's like, well, or he said that they've been in talks since 2017. Yeah, it meant ongoing. But the thing was that it was an offer in 2017, and then it didn't materialize, and it was left. And then, obviously something happened. So it was since 2017, but there wasn't the deal trying to be notched for 4 years. There was a reason why it happened, from what I heard. So, that was their gold mine. So the next studios, I just want people to realize that if it doesn't, fancy your glory, it's that you have to realize they have to get kid games. They have to have games that might not appeal to all of us. And I kind of understand their position on that. I mean, especially with kids games, I'm sorry, but Sonic and those things that, and with the studio, the IP that they have, whether it could be that game from, what was the game with Cameo. Remember Cameo in 2007?
Yeah,
Yes.
I really enjoyed that one.
Okay, let's make a game like that with next generation graphics that really wow you, that has that type of theme. Now that would probably appeal to me and you too, but even so, but like it attracts the kids or kids games like Banjo. Banjo's a typical. Just things that you want to have that generation, those type of games for the kid generation. It doesn't all have to be COD, in my opinion, or all these games. It can be too, but I think though getting some games for the real kind of younger generation, getting them into it is a big thing too.
Invader, would you mind if I like tossed a hand grenade of a game out real quick in a studio that we should actually kind of keep our eyes on in 2021 that no one has got them on the radar right now?
All right, boys, watch out for this blast radius.
Yeah, I know shit. Well, I'm talking about Experiment 101 with Biomutant.
Weren't they already bought by THQ?
They are being published under TH Nordic, but like I said, it's like a developer to keep an eye on. I really feel like I've been kind of foaming at the mouth for Biomutant since I've heard about it, and I feel like a game. I feel like that game. When you talk about having like a quirky style to it, something that's colorful and fanciful looking at the same time. I feel like that's Biomutant. And I just feel like I don't know why this game is completely flying under the radar. And the fact that they just recently came out saying that the game's going to be available in May. I feel like this is going to be the game out of left field for 2021.
Yeah. I just looking it up.
It's not next gen though, right?
It is not next gen.
That sucks.
Well, that's the thing. It's been actually in development for a very long time. So maybe they might patch it, but that's the only thing. I'm not gonna pass on the game just because it's not technically a next gen title. It's definitely gonna be completely unique. And I mean it's gonna definitely be a very, very fun RPG.
Well, it's certainly unique. I've always been caught by it. I've been interested in hearing more about it. It's it's definitely unique. I like the mech gameplay in it and how you can personalize your own character. And just it has the game industry could use some more of these types of games. So I'm really excited to try that out once it's released.
I'm just saying this will probably put TH Nordic, because TH Nordic is one of those games that I guess names that I feel like has been around forever, but when people say, well, what have they done recently? I can't really think of any games off the top of my head. I know they do games still to this day. I just feel like Biomutant is going to probably put them out there, at least one of those titles that you had mentioned when you're talking about games you're currently playing.
Well, they acquired a lot of devs and different IP. For example, I believe Destroy All Humans is under them. But I think a year ago they acquired Gunfire Games, which has Darksiders, and there's a few others. There's a few other ones, Piranha Bytes, and I mean they've been slowly and steadily growing their portfolio of studios, their stable of studios and IP. So they're definitely a publisher to keep an eye on. And
I feel like that's what I mean. Like Microsoft is, the idea of saying that Microsoft is, going beyond buying studios to buying publishers. I just see TH Nordic being more of Microsoft style because they're not just this huge, massive thing already. Definitely, they've got some growing to do, and they've got some. I just feel like it's gonna put them back on the radar.
No, totally, man. Either way, guys, it's interesting, all this different acquisition talk. I know it gets brought up often because, again, Microsoft and Xbox, they're in this buying mood over the past few years. We know that they have this appetite for acquiring studios and now publishers. And it drives up the curiosity level, no doubt. I know everybody in the chat was talking about it too, and everybody just wants to know who they're going to get next. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on things as they unfold during the next few months. Either way, it's been really exciting with Xbox over the past few years with studio acquisitions. moving along, guys, and this past week we saw the release of the Medium, currently exclusive to Xbox Series consoles and the PC, and, well, basically the Xbox ecosystem overall as it stands. It's currently getting some mixed to positive reviews at the moment. I know I've been seeing a bunch of people really enjoying it. In the chat, there was a few guys talking about it as well. They're really going nuts over it. Heck, I mean, I enjoyed it. I just did a review on it. I think it's a pretty cool game. I mean, it has some flaws, but I really like what Bloober Team have been doing. But I'm curious what everybody on the panel thinks of the game. Shockley, I know you were having issues with it. I don't think you got a chance to really play it. Has anybody on the panel been able to play the Medium besides myself?
No, I tried to load it up, and then I had to take an update of 23 gigabits, and then I got my new Xbox, which is going in the media room, and then I I downloaded it, but I've been playing. I played Yakuza for like 16 hours this weekend. I stayed in because it was like 10 degrees, and I just played Yakuza like crazy. But I didn't get to it. I watched some of the 18-minute the gameplay. It's what I expected. It's like why I gave it a 78 Metacritic prediction, and people were like, "Why is it so low?" You know, it's not an action game. It's not a game from for everyone, but it's a horror game, and a lot of people there are people that seem to really like it. So you have to try it, and that's the glory of Game Pass. Try it, and you might find something that you fall in love with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm going to be trying it, though.
Now, just to interject, I believe we have from the Iron Lords podcast joining us, Gaming Addict. Hey, buddy, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, well, first thing I want to say is I apologize, man. I had some stuff happen today, and it just got me stressed, and I fell asleep. I even set an alarm, and my phone died before my alarm come up, and I definitely want to apologize for
that. Don't worry, I told them that was going to be the case. I'm like, sorry if I'm talking away. Hopefully there's nothing bad happened to him because I know him. He would be here. But,
just completely by accident.
That's fine. Glad to have you anyway. We get some of you at least, some comments, right? So happy. Thanks for joining.
I definitely appreciate the invite.
Yeah, of course, buddy. Of course. Have you been able to play the Medium at all?
I played about an hour and a half the other day. It just wasn't for me. I understand people like that type of game, and more power to you. But I don't know. It just didn't click, so I didn't want to force myself to play it. I might try it again. I was a little bit tired when I did play it, but I might try it again.
All right, very cool. Yeah, no, it's I think it's a pretty interesting game. Again, as I was stating, it does have its flaws. Unfortunately, for that, I clunky camera, the gameplay movement. Unfortunately, maybe that has a lot to do with the types of puzzles that it has. And I personally encountered some nasty bugs, for example, not anything that Shockley's been dealing with, but there was a section where I think I saw Sincere too from Gold Chain Gamers. We had the exact same bug happen where there was a prompt to get up to somewhere, and then we were just kind of blocked, and then I went down again and I couldn't get that same prompt. So I had to reload the level, and then finally I was able to do it. But there's just some weird bugs in it. But overall, I think it's a very interesting psychological horror game that the story's really good. It's really solid. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the voice acting as well. Mm-hmm. You got, for example, what's his name from, he did, Nolan North, I believe, from, Uncharted games, and so on. Overall, and just the technology too. I've been showing some gameplay here, not at the moment, but gameplay of the Medium 2 with the technology, the dual realities going back and forth. Really interesting stuff too, just to be able to see what Bloober Team have been doing with the SSD. And just what we have to look forward to with next-gen gaming. I mean, I wish that this had launched a little earlier, It's too bad that it got pushed back all the way to now. But guys, it's a really enjoyable game.
Well, I'm definitely going to try it out. So I like that it's scary, and I like that they're trying new things. And look at the developer, the trajectory of the developer. They made, Blair Witch last, which wasn't really that great, but it improved. And now they're doing this. Now, honestly, I think the medium with the technology that use it would be a good, opportunity for a sequel. And it sounds like you're really enjoying it. So listen. I'll tell you this much: there was 53,000 freaking mentions of it. That's a lot for a game. The day it came out, and there was 53,000 mentions the second day. The second day after it came out, and also they've recouped all their money. Their first week, they paid everything off, and everything is done. They are just making money now from now on. And that's with Game Pass. A lot of people bought it on PC. The game sold. So, whether or not I think people were like trying to put it in a 90 scale or an 85 scale, I think slowly but surely for this studio. But looking from all things from a financial aspect and everything, it's a success.
Yeah, and one of the things that I definitely want to point out about Medium, is it shows how real, like how much Microsoft's trying to work to be a very diverse library, not necessarily like one or two different types of genres in there, but Medium isn't really like anything we've really ever played, and that's one of the things that I do like is I might not necessarily liked it, but it shows how much diversity that they're trying to bring to the actual, library in general.
Right, yeah. And that's the thing, too, the way that they've been courting certain, whether they be timed exclusives or just exclusives, period. You look at, for example, like when they had that July showcase, they showcased all kinds of varieties in games. You got your Warhammer 40K game, you got Scorn, you got the Medium. There's a lot of variety there. And actually, to be honest, I'm a big fan of like scary horror games, the psychological thrillers. And I was happy when I saw the Medium. And man, I mean, I'm just like, that's just something that really that I enjoy. And yeah, when you talk about the diversity of games that Microsoft is courting for Xbox, this is something that a lot of people wanted to see, because for years, it was kind of, I hate to say it, but it was kind of dry for, especially, once Matrick left, and it was just, oh man, it was just so terrible. But now, I mean, you see what the things that Phil is doing, the past couple of years he's been working towards this. And yeah, we have a lot of variety now to look forward to. I don't know, just a shame. Let's see here. I know a lot of guys yeah, go ahead.
I did think it was funny how 7 out of 10 just turns out to be like mid or bad games now. It's like there's since when, I think it's all about this whole like Metacritic thing when they give you like a yellow card and it just like puts it, because we've been trained and programmed like red, yellow to be like caution or like bad things, or if it's green it's okay. So it's like, why do they even put a color on there? The score already has a value. You adding some other negative connotation to that number or to that value, it doesn't make any sense. Like a 74 or 75, one's green, one's yellow, but you're going to look at the 74 a lot more negatively than a 75, which is almost the same exact score. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. But lately it's just like, yeah, that's a bad game. It's terrible. It's just like, it fits with all of the rest of Xbox's, games. It's not even like a first party game, but.
And the funny thing is like, oh, sorry. I was just going to say the funny thing is like some of my favorite games have been in that range. I remember Dying Light was that range, and a lot of people, love that game, and it's still got that kind of score.
Yeah, I posted all these, PS2 exclusives that was like all like 74 like below. And like even Shinobi, a game I really like from the PS2, was a 71. Like, but it's a good, solid game. But it's like now it's like medium, and they're calling like medium, or like, you know, it being a mid game. I'm like,
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was because it came out for Xbox, let's be honest, and it wasn't for opposing platform. So there was definitely added
That's definitely the reason, Tim. That's definitely the reason.
But the same goes for, there were a lot of people. Jay was hyping Godfall like crazy. Jay Dubs, guy, he's a good guy. But we talk a lot, and I remember him. He was hyping Medium. I mean, he was hyping freaking Godfall, and that had a 60 Metacritic. But when the time came, it was like, where I even mentioned, where I think that Medium they kind of really tried here, and they tried to do a good thing, and they got caught up in that fodder or that fire when they really deserve it. I think that Invader says, give the game a shot. And, all of us, let's give the game a shot. You know why? Because if you like games, you have a Game Pass, you can play video games on it. And the Medium, which is a title that, believe it or not, if I didn't have Game Pass, I'd be like, I kind of got to get this game. And I think that says a lot for the service. We can all play it. So let's all try it ourselves. And I know that I didn't try it. I don't think Mega tried it. Shock, you didn't try it, right?
I tried it.
Okay.
I get my Xbox gonna explode. So for my review, as far as I have to give it a bad score, because so far the game's been okay, but like the game's gonna kill my console here if I keep playing. So.
Well, I see a lot of people dogging it as like a Game Pass game, which I think is unfortunate because that low barrier to entry into the game is it's fantastic, and a lot of people wouldn't have checked out this title if it wasn't in Game Pass because they're already subscribed to the service. I did a review on the game, released it yesterday, and I like the game. Again, I like these kinds of titles. I like what Bloober Team does. And I think they tried to do a few different things here. Some things work, some things, they could have tweaked it a bit more and so on. But I think there's a lot of good in here, and I think that there could be even a sequel to come out of this at some point in the near future. As far as review scores go, I personally gave it a 7.5. But it's all over the place. Like, to me, 7.5 is still a really fantastic score to give. I remember I'll give you an example. A lot of people didn't care for it when it came out, but Recore, for example, I think it's a fantastic title, and even that, like, it got dogged for a lot of things too. But I think that there's a lot of.
I think me and you're the only people in the world that love that game.
Well, there's a couple, right? But there's a lot of character to that game, and
it's too. Yeah, had a groundbreaking for its time, and it was like 71.
Right. Yeah.
I actually feel like, besides Rise, that is the only other game that I feel like has a real good foundation for Microsoft.
Mm-hmm. Rise. All Rise's problem was, and I think I even talked about this at the beginning of the show, or I talked about this recently.
Repetitive.
It was very repetitive. Remember when you would fight the same guy in the 8th stage? Where it really started to get repetitive to me, like after the 4th, act or whatever, 4th chapter. But still, that first 4 chapters were like, really, like, the game was like an 8.5 at my point. I really like Rise. I finished it. Obviously, if you had the right idea there. People don't know this, but Rise, they wanted to make Rise 2, and they wanted to put it in I think Eastern England or something in a different time.
Oh, yeah.
But it would be the same type thing. But Crytek said, no, we're not selling you the IP. So they try to buy it. Even back in the day when they weren't making games, they did try it. I just think that they don't own the IP. That's the problem. And it's still, to this day, if they could get Rise 2 and somehow make it happen, I would love to see that.
You know how amazing it would have been if they was able to get their hands on that, and it was an Xbox Series X launch title.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Like, just the things. Rise, even to this day, is such a showcase. I can't believe what they were able to do on the original launch Xbox One. Rise is one of those things that I would just love to see a sequel for. They could still do a lot with it, whether it be in, like, again, Roman times, or again, like you said, Tim, they seem to have some kind of a sequel set up for England, something to do with that. But there's a lot that they could still do with Rise. I wish that they would work with Crytek and work something out, but alas, it doesn't seem to be the case at this moment. But yeah, guys, the Medium, it's good. I definitely suggest checking it out if you like maybe slower paced games with some puzzles, have a little bit of a creepiness to them, and heavy story-based, character-driven narrative. So definitely check it out. I can recommend it. All right, fellas, we will move along here, and let's see what we got. Now, I often see lists of original Xbox games that we would like to see remade. One name that often gets brought up is Xbox exclusive, the original Xbox exclusive, Knights of the Old Republic. It's a Star Wars role-playing game developed by BioWare originally, and it's considered to be one of the best Star Wars games around, period. Well, now there's reports of a remake in the works, or a reimagining of sorts, if you will. And according to a Star Wars podcast, Bespin Bulletin, they've heard that EA will not be publishing it. Now, I'm curious to see what the panel thinks about this, because it's a name that gets brought up quite often. Centurion, I'm pretty confident that you're a Star Wars fan, a pretty big Star Wars fan. What do you think of a Knights of the Old Republic getting a remake or having some sort of a comeback?
I don't like Star Wars at all.
I figure, because that big ass helmet that you have around that I remember seeing you with, that's just a prop.
Dude,
right?
I've got the Death Star on an oil painting in my house. So, anyways, no. Let's talk. There is a lot of rumors actually circulating KOTOR, more than just this. I guess this offshoot remake idea that they want. Basically somebody to do other than EA and BioWare. They apparently don't want them doing it at all. And I guess they want it to borrow from the story and canon that was already created by the original KOTOR, but they also want some of the canon brought in from what is currently being used in Star Wars. So I'm kind of curious on how they would even do that, if that is the case. But it also appears that there's also, like, from comicbook.com, that they're also talking about wanting to, I don't want to say remaster, but they want to create a current gen port of the first two games, kind of like similar that they did with, like, Episode 1 Pod Racer. They want to do, from what I've heard on that rumor, they want to do it because they want to, I guess, put KOTOR on the Switch, so that way they can get it out there for people to kind of experience the original games. And the original games, oh my God, like, I remember that was the whole reason why I had an original Xbox. As soon as original Xbox games became backwards compatible, KOTOR was the first game I bought. They're actually a very hidden gem. But if you try to go back and play them today, outside of the story elements that they provide and the world that they created, definitely it's not a graphical showpiece as it was back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plus, when I was a little kid, when I played that game, man, the story literally blew my mind. So,
it was one of the first games where your choice, I don't want to say the first, but it was like one of the first games I can think of where your choices actually played a slight role in how your character developed, because, you could either be a total neutral character, or you could be a bandit or a Sith Lord, or you could be like a law enforcement type individual or a Jedi, just depended on how you wanted to play the game.
I remember at the end where they gave you that. I mean, this game came out forever ago, so I guess spoiler alert. But they asked you, they go into a look. There's stuff going on, so you can either right now be evil or you could be a good guy. And then I decided to go the dark way. And there was a dude with me, that I had to kill. Like, cause we went there with both Jedis. I've been with this dude since the beginning of the game, and I didn't realize what I'd done, man. I was pretty young back then, and I'll never forget when he turned. He's like, "Look, I can't follow you this way," and you know how like in games it like turns a red icon when they're an enemy. I remember he went red, and I was just, I just paused the game, man. I was like, I don't know what to do, like, and then when I get back to
so many adventures with this guy, and now I gotta kill him.
And then when I get back to the actual camp, half my team turns red. Like, because they're like, we are not doing this. And then I remember that dude was like, one of the dudes, I can't remember, it's been so long. He was like, look, he's like, the robots, they're robots. They're going to listen to you. And he's pretty much telling you who's you going to have to kill when you get back. Like,
Oh man. Well, I'll admit that this is a title that I wasn't able to check out when it originally came out, but it's one of those ones that just has a lot of praise behind it. I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, but it's just like I hear a lot of people bringing it up. It's one of those things that, you know, people bring up when they speak about BioWare and what they used to be, right? And just the quality that was in KOTOR. And I think, yeah, just people want to see a really good role-playing Star Wars game again. You know what I mean, Addict?
Question though, like, I was in a party with one of my friends, and we were just brainstorming. Like, obviously, they could have anyone make this, but this isn't a game you would have anyone make. This is a game that you would have people that have experience in this, and that you would trust with this kind of brand. And plus, it's Disney. Disney ain't gonna just let anyone make this game. Who could possibly make this game? Microsoft owns half the RPG developers. Like,
have all the top 3 best Western.
That's what I'm saying.
RPG.
Like, BioWare's clearly said they're not making. So if it's
Obsidian
not
helped
BioWare,
do the second game.
yeah, well, they actually did a huge portion of the second game. So if it's not BioWare, if it's not the people who make Divinity, and there's like one other studio that it could be that I don't think Disney would actually go to, then who else could it be? Like, Obsidian and people that companies in Bethesda are the only other people I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Well, supposedly it's a studio that we wouldn't necessarily think of from what I've been hearing. So, I mean, take that for what you will.
Can I go off on a random thought idea on, like, because I was sitting there thinking, what studio would I think of that would also be, oh, okay, when you find out? And to me, the way KOTOR flowed back in the day, the going to the different locations, the different quests, the RPG elements, I hate to say it, a company like ZeniMax, something like, because I hate to say it, like they've sculpted Elder Scrolls for a very long time, and like with ESO, and I just feel the idea of being able to go from location to location, you get different quests, and I mean, it's a very large universe. I mean, KOTOR to this day is
Go ahead. I
was just going to say the flexibility of KOTOR, I feel like still holds strongly even in 2021. In the fact that in KOTOR, you weren't just like handed a gun and this is what you use. You had to make a decision on, I want to use a sword, lightsaber, gun, force powers. And by the end of the game, you have a character that could be totally different than somebody else who was playing the game right next to you on a different console.
Well, that's the game design. And my question is exactly to that point. Don't mess something up that's not ruined, or whatever that statement is. But would you be happy with a next-gen remake from the ground up of the same game of KOTOR 3?
I don't know.
So like the same game, yes, the same game, but it's just next gen, and it gets people into
100% okay with that. It could literally be the same game from the rocks on the game, and I would be completely okay with it because I know the game's going to sell well. I know it's going to be received well because that type of gameplay is what we're dying for right now. And if they brought that back and didn't do nothing, too drastic with it, I know it's going to do well, and I know for a fact you would get a sequel.
So the one thing I'm curious on is how they're going to tweak the remake, because I forget where I heard this argument, but I know it's kind of a valid argument. We got to remember Star Wars is now owned by Disney. Originally, when this game was created, it was owned by LucasArts. It was built under a completely different
It's a very dark game.
It's a very dark game. Yeah, like, I mean, when you go to Kashyyyk, where the Wookiees are, you see slavery, torture. You see them being beat down, and that's one of the things they talked about. Like, how could they put that in a game today, being that they have that Disney banner on top of Star Wars, when KOTOR was a much more darker game. Like, when people get into the lore of being a Sith Lord, like the idea of there's always two, a master and an apprentice. And at the end, to become a master, the apprentice has to slay his master. That is not a very, childlike thing to basically have to explain to somebody, when it's just like, oh yeah, in their world, when a certain time comes, you got to kill the person who taught you everything. So there's a lot of dark elements to KOTOR that I'm curious on. If it was a complete remake 1-to-1 where they just pushed everything out, I would applaud them for, okay, cool, they're staying true. But I do worry that they would change a lot purely because of the fact that Disney owns them now, and they might not want certain things in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, coincidentally, there's an interesting Xbox and Lucasfilm rumor going around, and according to, a reliable insider, I guess you could say, special ed over at Xbox Era, he had said that on a recent podcast episode that Microsoft are in discussion with Lucasfilm Games about something. Now, specifically not about the newly announced Indiana Jones game, but something else. Now, could there be some kind of an exclusive agreement between the two for this new KOTOR remake or game? Because again, that was an Xbox exclusive, an OG Xbox exclusive back in the day. Could they be wanting to seal the deal on this one too?
Was that an open question or for me specifically?
That's to anyone.
Okay. Well, I'll hop on it first. I really don't know if Disney would want it exclusive. I would say that would be a jaw dropper for me. But one thing I got to remember is a vast majority of the Star Wars games that at least I can recently think of were marketed by Xbox. So Xbox working together with Lucasfilm Studios, or I always can't get their name right anymore ever since they changed it. I'm just saying that I already know they have the marketing rights. I just don't really see them. That's a big leap for me to be exclusive because, in my opinion, we already see how exclusivity is hurting the Spider-Man franchise being locked up on one console. We see how successful it's being on one console. Now imagine if there was a little bit more openness with that license of how much more successful it could be. And I really do see Disney not probably wanting that to happen with very many other of its licensed characters.
Mm-hmm. I think it could be exclusive easily because, we did see through the Spider-Man that an exclusivity exclusivity with enough pop can definitely be successful regardless. It just depends on if Microsoft wants to back the truck up or Sony wants to or if Nintendo wants to. It's all about money at that point. Anything can happen if you put enough money behind it.
And we forget they kind of solved that issue because it's not going to be exclusive because it would be on PC and Xbox. So it would still be widely available to probably just as many people as Miles Morales would. Well, actually, Miles Morales would be limited to. Well, never mind. It's on the PS4. I forgot. But still, there's still more gamers on PC and Xbox in total. Plus, you would have Game Pass, so it would reach quite a.
It would probably reach out to be more, to be honest with you, because they could put it on Steam and everywhere else.
Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't have to worry about it's only on, say, if Xbox has a small base, they're not going to really have to worry about that because it's not going to be actually exclusive in a sense. It's still going to be, they're going to make their money back. They're not have to worry about, oh, well, shit, this was a dud, didn't sell, or this is a small, market on Xbox or what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting theory because, again, Microsoft's being aggressive right now, Xbox as a whole, and I could see them doing something like that. I mean, obviously, they saw the reaction to what games like, again, Marvel's Spider-Man and Miles Morales did for Sony. That was one of their big games with the PlayStation 4. And obviously, they must remember that the exclusivity for KOTOR helped them with the original... on the original Xbox, getting some mind share back in those days. So I could, I could see that. I mean, Microsoft is friendly with Disney. I could see them pulling something off there.
I would.
Isn't it rumored?
Be a draw-dropping moment for me, but to kind of defend you guys, I think about the fact that Disney Plus is technically as a perk right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we already know Microsoft flipped the bill for that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as of right now, isn't there a rumor that Microsoft's contracted another Star Wars IP?
Supposedly, yeah. That's I guess they both these rumors kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, that's the rumor floating around right now that Microsoft has contracted like Star Wars of some sort. So I mean I could see this being like KOTOR because, again, like, depending on how the exclusivity agreement went, I could see them supporting a KOTOR remake or a KOTOR reimagining. I mean, I've heard Stranger Things, so why not? BioWare obviously isn't going to be involved with it in any way, so I'd just be more curious to see who the dev is behind it. I mean, if they got Obsidian to do it, oh man, that would be really surprising. That'd be nice, actually.
Well, just know that if it's Star Wars, if Disney announced it, it's still going to be big. But if they announce it knowing like, oh, the original, I don't know who's still at Obsidian that worked on it, but if the original like dev, at least in name, is working on it, it's going to get a lot more buzz, than if it was just like, hey, we have this smaller Western RPG studio. People will be like, they might question, even if it's like In Exile that's been great,
Mm-hmm.
they still might question. It might be, they haven't made the jump to like a big, or at least that I know of, that's at least mainstream, a big game like that.
And this,
the only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got a question in the chat, guys. Reverse World with the $2 super chat. Hail Mary, will there be any reveals at the Super Bowl? What do you guys think?
I mean, I think I don't think about a reveal, but they might pop out a like a Hellblade 2 trailer or something. Like, for the most part, you don't reveal something that's never been actually officially announced at the Super Bowl. You mainly just continue hype stuff that's already out.
Yeah, you tease stuff that people know, or IP that people know. Like, it was the first glimpse of like Halo or something, or that Perfect Dark, maybe not Perfect Dark, but like Halo would be a good example. Be like, oh shit, it's Halo trailer. That was first glimpse we've ever seen for the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But
they might do some like kind of cryptid Game Pass, some kind of cryptid Game Pass trailer with like a third party game in there or something. Like, they don't say it's just a Game Pass trailer, that they have some kind of hidden meaning behind, but that's about all I could see.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I could see some like game, like you guys said, either something cryptic or something showing off Game Pass.
Like, that would be a big one, because it's just people are going to see it because of Star Wars, even if they don't know Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, oh shit, this new Star Wars game that looks, a little bit different.
Right, yeah. Infinite says, rumor has it GTA 6 will be revealed. I don't know. I don't know about that one, but I mean, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to see something.
I don't think GTA 6 is even anywhere close to being announced.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're looking at like the middle of this gen, so even maybe the end of this gen, because of the whole COVID thing, that we'll see GTA 6.
So I'm sorry, but why all of a sudden are we having like reveal rumors at the Super Bowl? Has there ever been a reveal at the Super Bowl?
No, it's just he was curious.
I'm just saying, like, even Infist said that there's a rumor that GTA 6 will be revealed at the. I'm like, so really? There's actually people out there saying that there's rumors about there being a reveal at the Super Bowl?
Well,
It's hard to tell, man. See, like I could see a GTA 6 before I see like a first party thing doing it, because GTA is such a world renowned name that would make a little bit more sense. I don't think it's happening, but I could see a third party reveal there way before I see, because you usually Microsoft, PlayStation, especially Nintendo, they're not revealing anything at the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah, I can't see any first reveals or world reveals, but I can see games that we already know about. I mean, let's just say, again, Halo Infinite, for example, right? The game's not coming out until November, but they might want to spark some interest at some point, or Hellblade 2, or maybe another title. Game Pass again, they want to bump up those Game Pass numbers, guys. So either way, I could definitely see them putting, there might be a couple of gaming related advertisements in there. Obviously, we were talking about during this show about just how well gaming's been doing in this whole worldwide pandemic. So yeah, I could see a few publishers getting in on that, a few companies. But I don't know. I don't see any big worldwide reveals anytime soon.
yeah, it's going to be at that Super Bowl. Like probably 5 new Netflix shows.
Oh, please! I hope none of them have to do with worldwide pandemics. I really hope not.
All I'm gonna say is, if anybody reveals anything at the Super Bowl, please get the guy that says world premiere to say it just before the commercial comes on.
Well, not only that.
Let's not even put that in the air, man. Do not reveal games at the Super Bowl.
Okay, that's better. I'm just saying, you at least gotta make it like an E3.
Unless it's Madden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I totally see
Madden.
That's actually a good one, Tim. Yeah, good point.
I think there's a good chance we do see some kind of Halo trailer, because clearly 343 has something to prove at this point. So they might.
I don't think it's gonna. I think that's coming in when they do their E3.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just going off of the concept of. They have been really open with it, and of all the stuff that could be there, Halo is the one I would see that's most likely. But I still don't think it's going to be there, but it's the one I could see that's the most likely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, the bottom line is that if Halo can just hit this year, I think we're going to be very happy. It's been worked on a long time. They definitely were in a crunch and in a bad position, but it sounds like also, regarding 343 and Halo, it sounds like Joe Staten is the main guy now. He is kind of taking over everything. Listen, they have a year to play with. They're going to do much better on the graphics. You guys heard that the story's done, right? Like, if you listen to Staten, one of them said that they played the game in full and they loved it. So I don't know how much they're going to be adding, but I think that they're going to kind of make sure that it looks good. It looks really good. So I'm really excited about Halo. That's going to be really big, and I wonder what else they have. I would think that there's going to be no E3 this year. There will be no Fan Fest, I don't believe, and if it's a Fan Fest, it'll be different. I've heard that Aaron's not doing that anymore. They're kind of moved on, but it's because of because of COVID, and this year seems to be blown out anyway. Mm-hmm. So just consider this year like last year. It's just, maybe by Christmas, maybe by that time, but they're not going to do it. If they do anything, they'll do 2021 in UK. And I doubt that they do that, because UK also could be on a different trajectory than us with COVID. You just got from what I'm hearing, is kick out this year. As far as that, still going to be virtual stuff, which sucks. So they're going to have a virtual E3, I think. And then they're going to have they might have 3 virtuals this year, and I think the first one or one of them, we're gonna definitely see Halo. We have to get another trailer. And
yeah, they'll show something else.
Yeah, and they haven't shown the multiplayer either, so they have both of that to show. Mm-hmm. But I heard, Joe Staten is now the big guy, and they're working. It just seemed like that they were too behind. And I think that the look at the Cyberpunk situation. Imagine that was Halo. Think about that.
Well,
Cyberpunk can recover. I don't think Halo could have recovered from that.
It's a good point because Halo's not what it used to be, and people would just say 343 is garbage.
Yeah, I think that would have been the biggest focus. It's like, look, you had 3 games. Halo came out a mess. You know, Halo 5 came out with a good multiplayer, bad single player. And Halo 4 had the opposite effect. It's like, maybe we should bury this IP. Like,
But what we did see, let's be honest, what we did see, aside from the graphical not wowing and popping like what we should expect, what we did see looked like a really fun game.
Yeah.
I mean, you could definitely tell the gameplay is gonna be good. It could be awesome.
I'm just curious how they're going to do Halo with the kind of Destiny model like way, like
with the multiplayer aspect.
Just the whole overall in general, like because the Halo Wars, they got so many things. Like they got the Flood coming back in Halo Wars. They got clearly Anders did something with the ring because it was blown up. You know, then they got the original story going on. They got the Arbiter back. They got Master Chief back. They got Atriox. Like that is so much. I don't think that could be realistically done in one game.
Right. And Locke too. If he could come back, they might kill him.
I think he's dead.
And honestly, you know, what the heck is, you know, how is Cortana gonna fit into all this too, right? So
I think what they're gonna do is it's gonna run like Destiny. I think they're gonna have a vanilla campaign where it's the enemy's one person, and then probably 6 months to a year later, they're gonna drop another huge expansion that builds onto it where the enemy's the Flood. The Flood came back. I think that's how they're gonna do it because to me there's just too many variables, and I don't see them logically being able to put them all together in a way that would make the game make sense.
Right. And you know, I gotta agree with Tim. Tim, you remember back when the gameplay was revealed? I was one of the ones that was sticking up for it. I mean, besides, you know, the pop-ins and the textures not looking that sharp. I mean, I thought it looked pretty fun. I mean, I could see, you know, I understand where the criticisms were, but at the same time, just to see the old designs back, or you know, them like taking like the 343 kind of designs and the Bungie designs and kind of emerging. Everything just looked really, I don't want to say adequate, but it just looked like everything just kind of fit in. And even probably one of the big things for me too was the score, you know, with Gareth Coker, you know, on the score there, and everything just felt so Halo in its tone. I'm like, yes, that got me excited, despite some of the flaws that we saw. I liked it. I really liked the gameplay. It looked really good. And even just some of the new stuff too, but the enemy designs, everything just looked like, you know, kind of like Bungie-like, and that's what a lot of people wanted to see. And I'm excited to explore the Zeta Halo ring. And, you know, I know that this past week they did an update, and now they're going to be talking at the end of each month about, you know, some new stuff in the game. They put up some new images of the weapons. They were teasing a new vehicle, and yeah, it's just you know, I'm glad that they're starting to be more forthcoming about things. Either way, guys, I mean, I'm a Halo fanatic, as everybody knows, so I'm just excited to be back into Halo again. And hopefully we don't have to wait long for some gameplay. I mean, obviously they were talking about the Halo Insiders program and a proper beta coming for the game. And yeah, I think a lot of people are just looking forward to get into Halo again overall. So there's that. I know a lot of people in the chat are looking forward to. They like the grappling hook, apparently Justin was saying. Yeah, the grappling hook looked pretty cool. Actually, I'm just excited to take a fusion coil and just like throw it against a grunt's skull. But anyways, guys, I think on that note, this episode of TXR will be coming to a close. And you know what, guys, really good. It was a really fun show tonight, talking about our time, about the medium impressions, Xbox growth, big acquisition talks, and more. And I gotta say, Yeah, Tencent. All no,
the evil company.
the evil. Hey, we're talking about Star
Yeah.
Wars, right? So they're like the Galactic Empire.
Yeah, if anyone, if you want to look at anyone, that the reason these companies are buying companies the way they are, look no further than Tencent.
Well, let me ask you a question just before we leave, because I know that we're getting on 2 hours. Quickly, because you weren't here for it. Are you afraid of Tencent growing and getting bigger and bigger, getting these companies?
I'm not scared of them because for the most part, I feel like they do keep their hands out of the development cycle. Besides, increments of certain microtransactions that might not have been there, but we wouldn't know that because we don't have access to behind it. But I do feel like if they continue to do what they're doing, they can influence the entire industry in the direction it goes
agreed.
because they have their hands in everything.
Yeah, they don't. It seems like they're going really after the multiplayer models too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my biggest fear is.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just-
that's what we were saying. It was like they could probably get away with anything, charging $25 for a blue skin, just blue.
Yeah.
And plus, let's be real. Like, you can't truly have innovation and new ideals when a company like Tencent is dictating everything. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, the one thing, just quickly, I think it was. I heard what was the game, and this is quickly, and then I'm going to go, and then I'm going to sign off. But what was the game that came after, um, the Arc? It was a game that came out, never really came out. Came on Xbox preview. Nobody talks about it. It was the same type of game by Wildcard. It was their second game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
was it Atlas?
Atlas. So Atlas was a victim of kind of the team meddling, I heard, and that's the type of stuff like where they were like either you have to do this or we're pulling out or we're stopping your funding, and they pushed out Atlas way too early, like 2 years early, because the head company wanted money and they wanted return on investment right away because they probably needed it, and that's what I heard killed Atlas. And that's on very good sourcing, like somebody who knows, like somebody who's involved. So I don't know if that was Tencent that was involved with them.
let's be real here, Tim. It wasn't them. It was Van Diesel. He popped in there like, I don't want anything else but Arc being worked on.
Yeah, that's a company I would look to take it apart. But thank you for coming on and getting here. What a great show. We did it for 2 hours with 4 panel members. That's always tough, but we had a good time, and see you next week. I'm going to be leaving now and going to play Xbox, but it was fun. And send your wishes to Megatron. He's been sick. He tried to make it on the show for 5 minutes, but you could hear him when he was talking. Even it's just sucks. COVID sucks, but he's getting better. And I'll see you all next week.
All right, Tim. Good stuff there, buddy. Yeah, guys. A huge thank you to everyone that came out tonight and watched and listened to us on the show. We really appreciate it, and we really do appreciate you guys tuning in all the time. We have like a really amazing fan base. We appreciate you. And hey, be sure to share this out, fellas, and give it a good thumbing if you really enjoyed it. Now let's move on to the panel outros, and we'll start with our guest gaming addict, Bud. I know you joined in a little later, but we really appreciated having your gaming knowledge on the show, your wisdom, and you made some really good commentary there. Where can everybody follow you at?
I have wisdom, man. I think you should get that memo to Cognito, man. Tell your man what's going on, man. Tell him. I appreciate the invite. Sorry again, I was halfway through the podcast before I showed up. If I ever come back in, I promise I won't be late. But I definitely appreciate it. It was a great conversation. There's not too many podcasts I'm willing to go on these days. I usually try to stay away from a lot of bad publicity. I got a leash on me now these days. So, yeah, but I do appreciate the invite.
Yeah, of course, Addict. We definitely got to have you back on sometime soon. And a bunch of the other guys from the Iron Lords. Great crew there for sure. All right, moving on to the TXR regulars. I'll start with Eric Shockley. Buddy, some really good takes tonight, bud. It's unfortunate about the medium. I hope you're able to boot it up sometime soon. Where can everybody follow you at?
Yeah, I'm not going to take any chances anytime soon, but not after resets happen like that can't be good. But yeah, you can, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, thanks for stopping by.
All right, buddy, moving on down here. Centurion, buddy, great stuff as always. Where can everybody listen and follow you at?
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight and hanging out with us. If you'd like to find me, you can find me at Centurion1307 on YouTube, Twitter, and Xbox Live. You can also find me right here every Sunday night on the TXR Podcast. And you can also find me every Saturday night on the Shop Podcast over there. And also, thanks once again, guys. This was an awesome show.
Totally, brother. And to seal this off, this is Invader, and you guys can find my content, including my The Medium review, on YouTube over at Invader Gaming. You can also find my content on Minds. Great show tonight, guys, and we cannot wait to see you all here next Sunday. Have a good one.